I don't think they would completely merge. Certainly, terminology from each will. There'll be some overlaps. There always have been. You know, when the first computer languages, say human-friendly computer languages that weren't just ones and zeros or funny little sets of initials that nobody but experts can understand. The first big breakthrough in programming was to start making it possible to write computer programs using something that at least vaguely looked like English or vaguely looked like conventional mathematical notation. Now, programming has become even more, let's say, human-friendly and more English-like or more natural language-like, and at the same time, a lot of terminology structures from programming have kind of found their way into natural languages as well. But I can't imagine that they would all merge. Unless unless they merged on the side of being able to program computers with very natural language. I mean, if you're familiar with a real programming language, you could hardly imagine having a conversation in it. Well, the way that'll always, I think, will play out for a long time is people keep arguing, well, what is intelligence after all? I think if you look through years of technology from the early attempts to write programs that could play checkers and chess and that sort of thing, and that's been going on since the 50s or even earlier, it's always seemed to me that you know, somebody throws a challenge to the technical types and say, well, something that thinks it has to do this, so they get busy and they make a machine that does this and say, okay, our machine can do this, and then somebody else says, well, that's not really intelligence. And so it keeps going back and forth, and now you have, you know, Big Blue can whip Russian chess master and that sort of thing. So I think we will continue to be able to have computers do things that seem more and more intelligent and more like what a human can do. But whether you'll actually get to that point where the computer is truly intelligent and self-aware and all these kind of things like people are supposed to be, that's a little hard to imagine. You say digital technology as opposed to some other technology. Usually when you say some other technology and digital, that some other is analog technology. I think the way things seem to be going in technology land is probably it would be for the most part a digital type of system. I mean, just at least in the near term, because those are the things we know how to build now, and we know how to do an awful lot with digital technology, and it seems to be have a pretty good payoff. Now, the moral implications of artificial intelligence, you know, I guess you face these moral questions with any new technology, and it's going to continue to be incumbent on human beings to try to, you know, to impose some. We're the ones who create the ethics and are either ethical or unethical. No machine that I can conceive of at this to date would be an unethical machine. You know, it's just a machine, and we're the only ones that are capable of doing that. And again, you can maybe look back a little bit in history for analogies, such as you might be talking about the abuse of technology, and with any new technology that comes along, there's always something bad you can do with it, whether it be, you know, weapons or telephones or televisions or you know, internet. People talk about, well, look at the situation with Maggie Brooks, right? I don't know if you're following that, but you know, having computers available in the library for free use by people, and then have people coming in there and looking at pornographic stuff on there, and that's not very good. But that doesn't mean you should get rid of computers. That just means we have to kind of exert our responsibilities as human beings to make sure they're used properly. So I guess what I'm answering to your big tough question that I really am not smart enough to answer anyway is that artificial intelligence I don't think would be inherently an unethical thing, but like anything else, any other kind of powerful tool, it can be misused.
Well, they've been talking about it forever, and I guess it's how you define intelligence. Pattern recognition that's happening now, whether it's audio files or print or like digital media, like forensic stuff, is is an AI kind of thing. Trying to simulate the human brain, the human intelligence. I think it's a stretch. I think it's a real stretch because it's going to be artificial, and that term "artificial" like alone takes you away, I think, from the source of intelligence.
Okay.
I think the source of intelligence is a creator God, and I think you can't get to that. I think there's always going to be, in trying to create that, I don't think you're going to get to it. I think we won't get to it, but we'll get what we think is close to it. And I think that we can get close.
There's no machine that I can conceive of that would be, I don't know, somehow immoral to destroy if it was with a good reason. But I mean, you probably take it out back and smash it into a million pieces. But again, because I would just consider it a bad machine, or at least try to repair it.
Okay.
Send it back to the shop. Put a new head on it, like in Sleeper.
I think it's definitely an interesting field to study. It's more a computer science thing than an SE thing. But, I mean, I would think that we have quite a ways to go before we really have to grapple with the ethical consequences of that. I mean, right now, the best we can do is some small programs that can try to emulate it. We don't have anything approaching human intelligence.
Right.
Well, I mean, you'd have to, if you go far, far in the future, you deal with situations like, the Matrix, humans having to battle against machines, or if you have a true artificial intelligence, what sort of rights does it have? Is it, how does it fit into human society?
Mm-hmm.
Can you treat it as we treat normal machines now, or do you have to treat it as human?
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine so. I mean, in theory, if you can have artificial intelligence off of entirely digital, magnetic media or whatever, you could do it, with a theoretically large enough series of mechanical, levers and gears.
Mm-hmm.
In theory, I mean, if it's even possible in the first place. In either
Okay.
case,
Do you think it's possible?
I have no idea.
If we create something and we make it like a baseline way to evaluate other people's thought and other people's intelligence, that could be a bad thing if we use it as like a measuring tool. We say, this thing that we've created is so good that we're now going to compare and contrast people to it. I'm not saying that would ever happen. I think that would be a negative. If we're trying to just create human beings, I have a problem with that. We'll first start off, like biologically, and then we'll try to give them brains too that can do these things. I think that's kind of, I think there's some obvious like negative aspects or something like that. Oh yeah, I think it would. I think that's what people want to see. And I think that's how it would probably be a transitional phase. I mean, until we can clone individuals and hope that they grow in the same way that they would under normal conditions, their brains may not work the same way. You might have to have electronic AI to fill in that gap. And again, I'm saying I don't really morally I have a problem with that, but I know that people are have been and are trying to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes just to do something because you can, it wasn't always the best reason.
Mm-hmm.